The cry behind the steel door Jake was just a simple human technician. He worked far away from Earth, on a quiet moon station where no one ever came. The place was old, cold, and almost forgotten. His job was to check the systems, fix broken wires, and make sure nothing exploded. He liked being alone. It was peaceful until that night. The sound came at midnight. A soft voice, faint, like a whisper in the wind. Open the door. Human, please. Free me. Jake froze. His tools dropped from his hands and clanged on the metal floor. He looked around. The voice had come from behind a thick metal door deep in the west wing. That area was marked with alien warning signs. He had never gone near it before. The sign said, "Danger, research zone, do not enter." He grabbed his scanner and ran to the hallway. The door was huge, silver, and locked with alien codes. Dust covered the control panel. No lights, no noise, just that voice again, weaker this time. "Please, I'm still alive." Jake pressed his ear to the cold door. His heart beat faster. Someone was inside. But who? He pulled out his portable system and hacked into the door's controls. The files were in alien language, but Jake used a translator. He found something strange. A file name blinked on the screen. Specimen Z47, dangerous. Keep sealed. Hybrid DNA. Jake's eyes widened. Hybrid? Dangerous? He should walk away. Call someone. Report it. But the voice in his head whispered, "She's alive." He took a deep breath and pressed a button. The panel buzzed. The door creaked but didn't open fully. He forced it with a crowbar. A hiss of cold air escaped. The smell inside was sharp and metallic, like blood and rust. The room was dark. He turned on his light. And there she was. A girl. Lying on the floor. Thin, pale, with glowing blue lines on her skin. Chains wrapped around her ankles and wrists. Her silver hair was dirty. Her clothes were torn. She looked at him with tired, glowing eyes. "You're real," she whispered. "You came?" Jake stepped forward slowly. "Who are you?" he asked. "My name? I don't remember," she said. "They called me Z47. I've been here for so long, alone. Please, don't close the door." He knelt beside her. "Why are you locked up?" "They created me. Mixed DNA from many species. I'm part healer, part weapon. But they feared what I could become. So they shut me away." Jake looked at her chains. They weren't normal. They were made of some glowing alien metal. He tried to cut them, but his tools couldn't break them. She touched his hand gently. "You're the first human I've seen. The others were cold. Machines. Scientists. They did things to me." Jake's stomach turned. Why didn't they come back? "They left when the war started. They feared I'd be taken, so they hid me." He looked at her glowing skin. "Why now? Why call me today?" She shook her head. "I don't know, I just felt someone nearby, someone kind." Jake pulled off his jacket and placed it around her shoulders. "I can't leave you here." He looked around the room and found a control panel on the wall. He tried to unlock her chains, but it asked for a bioscan. Only alien scientists could access it. "I'll find a way," Jake said. She smiled weakly. "You have a kind heart, but they will come soon." Jake's body tensed. "Who?" "The ones who made me. They put a tracker in my blood. If I wake, they know." Jake looked at her in shock. "They're coming now?" She nodded. "Yes." The station suddenly buzzed. Lights flickered. A warning flashed on his communicator. "Unidentified ship approaching." Jake felt his heart drop. "I opened the door and now they know." The girl looked up at him, her eyes glowing brighter. "You still have time, but not much. Please help me escape, help me live." Jake stood up. He had never been a hero, never fought anyone. But something inside him had changed. This girl, this broken, glowing alien, was more than a lab test. She was alive, and scared. And now, She was his responsibility. He clenched his fists. I'm not leaving you here. Outside, the enemy ship landed silently on the moon's surface. The hunters were here. Inside, Jake began his fight, not just for the girl, but for the truth. And, maybe, for something greater. She was no ordinary alien. The girl should have been dead. That's what Jake kept thinking as he watched her rest in the corner of the storage room he had cleared for her. She looked so fragile. Bare feet, pale skin, and hair like silver thread, but she was still breathing. Still alive after all those years locked behind that steel door, and yet, there was something more. When she had touched his hand earlier, it wasn't just skin. It was warmth, energy, like a spark passed from her body into his bones. It left his fingers tingling, as if life itself had whispered through them. She wasn't just any alien, she was something else. Jake crouched beside her. What did they do to you? Her voice was soft, almost fading. They made me. From pieces of many. Not born. Built. Mixed. He blinked. You mean, you're part human? No, she said with a weak smile. But close. They wanted something perfect. Something that could heal wounds. Destroy enemies. Adapt to any world. They mixed alien DNA for years. I was their best result, and their worst mistake. Jake shook his head slowly. That's why they locked you up? She looked away. They couldn't control me. I never hurt anyone. But I didn't obey either. Jake stood and looked around. We need to move you. They're already close. He opened a crate and pulled out an old med stretcher. As he placed her on it gently, her body glowed for a moment, just a soft light under her skin like stars trapped inside her veins. It amazed him and frightened him all at once. Does it hurt? He asked. She nodded slowly. Sometimes. My body isn't stable. I was never meant to live long. His chest tightened. We'll find a way to fix that. But she looked at him with quiet sadness. Most would leave me. Why don't you? He paused. Because I see someone, not something. She didn't reply, but her eyes said everything. Jake pushed the stretcher through the dim hallways of the moon station, trying to stay in the shadows. The scanners had already picked up a ship landing, unknown origin, probably mercenaries hired by the company that created her. They wanted her back, or worse, her body. He reached the east wing, where old cargo pods were stored. One of them still worked. He'd checked it months ago just in case of emergency. This counted, but as he moved, her voice came again. Jake? He turned. Her eyes were open, glowing softly in the dark. I'm not safe. Around anyone. You need to know that. You're not the danger, he replied. They are. She reached out weakly and touched his arm. I wasn't born with a name, but I like how you say Zira. You can call me that. Jake smiled for the first time that day. Zira. Okay. We're going to get out of here, Zira. She smiled, faintly. Then I'll follow you, human. He pulled the stretcher into the cargo bay and opened the pod doors. The pod wasn't fast and it wasn't strong, but it had life support, and it could get them away from this moon. He began loading supplies when suddenly the station lights turned red. Alert. Breach detected. Intruders on level 3. Jake cursed under his breath. Zira looked up, panic flashing in her glowing eyes. They're inside. Jake grabbed an old plasma cutter. It wasn't much, but it was better than nothing. We don't have time. But Zira didn't move. I can't run, she whispered. Not like this. Jake knelt beside her. Then, I'll carry you. She shook her head. No, not yet. Her voice became firmer. I need to try something. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath. Her whole body began to glow brighter. The light under her skin turned gold. A soft hum filled the room. Jake stepped back, not sure what was happening. Then the air shifted. Warmth spread across the bay like a wave. The broken lights above flickered and turned on. Zira gasped and fell back, her body trembling. Jake rushed to her side. "Zira," she smiled through the pain. "I fixed the lights. Without touching them, I'm getting stronger." Jake stared at her in awe. "You didn't move," she coughed weakly. "Part of my DNA can speak to machines. They gave me that too." Before Jake could say more, he heard boots, heavy and fast, echoing through the hallway. Time was gone. He lifted Zira into the pod and sealed the hatch. As the engines powered up, he looked out through the small window and saw shadows moving. Dark armored figures with glowing red visors. Zira, barely conscious, whispered, "Don't let them take me again." Jake gripped the controls. "They won't." And with that, the pod shot into the stars, carrying with it a girl made of many worlds, and the only human who believed she deserved freedom. DNA hunters arrive. The stars outside looked peaceful, but peace was a lie. Inside the small escape pod, Jake gripped the controls tightly. His hands were shaking. Behind him, Zira lay strapped to the med bed, her skin still glowing faintly, her breath shallow but steady. Her glow was fading now, but the danger was just beginning. He checked the scanners. No other ships nearby. Good. But the silence didn't last. A sharp alarm beeped from the console. A second signal, then a third. Jake's eyes widened. 3 ships, all approaching fast. He clicked the screen, unmarked, no ID. Flying without broadcast signals. That could only mean one thing: DNA hunters. They had tracked Zira's signal. Somehow, even inside this tiny pod, they had found her. Jake realized it too late. Her DNA didn't just glow. It called, like a beacon. The ones who created her had put a tracker deep inside her blood. A living signal. And now they were coming to claim their prize. Jake turned on the engine boost, trying to fly into a dense asteroid field nearby. It was risky, but he needed cover. In the back, Zira stirred. "They're close," she said barely, lifting her head. Jake looked over his shoulder. "I know. We need to lose them." She struggled to sit up. "I can hide my signal, but I need time." Jake checked the scanner. The ships were less than 2 minutes away. "You've got one," he said. Zira closed her eyes. Her fingers trembled. Her glow turned red, then soft blue. Jake could feel the air change, colder now. Her breath slowed. She was doing something inside herself. Then, silence. The alarm stopped. Jake stared at the console. The tracker signal was gone. The hunters stopped chasing. "Zira, you did it," he said, amazed. But she didn't answer. She was passed out. Jake rushed to her side. Her skin was cold, her body limp. She had burned too much energy too fast. He covered her with a blanket and returned to the pilot seat. But the peace didn't last long. The console beeped again, but this time it wasn't a tracker. It was a message. "Pod 88, prepare for docking. This is Outpost 7. Identify yourself." Jake sighed with relief. A human voice. He answered. "This is Technician Jake Holden. Emergency escape. 1 injured passenger." The reply came quickly. "Copy that. Docking bay opening." As the pod docked into the metal arms of the station, Jake looked back at Zira. Her body looked smaller now, curled up and quiet. He didn't know how much longer she could survive without real help. Outpost 7 was a human mining station, old, but still active. It wasn't much, but it was shelter. He just hoped they would welcome them and not ask too many questions. The door opened with a hiss. Jake stepped out, carrying Zira in his arms. 3 miners stood waiting. One of them, a tall man with a gray beard, looked at Zira with surprise. "She's not human," he said. Jake nodded. "She's injured. She needs rest." The miner frowned. "What is she?" Jake paused. "A victim. That's what she is." The miners looked at each other. One stepped forward. "You better come in before someone else sees." Inside the station, Jake laid Zira on a medical bed. The doctor, a woman in her 50s, checked her. "She's stable for now," she said, "but this girl isn't normal." Jake nodded. "She's not dangerous, she just wants to live." But the others weren't sure. A young miner whispered, "There's a bounty for creatures like her. Alien hybrids, big one." Jake turned sharply. "She's not a thing, she's a person." But the seed of greed was already planted. People started whispering, talking behind closed doors. Jake saw it in their eyes. They were thinking of turning her in. He couldn't let that happen. Later that night, he sat beside Zira. Her breathing was steady again. He whispered, "They'll come again, won't they?" Her eyes opened slowly. "Yes," she said. "They always do." Jake stood up. "Then we'll leave before they do." But Zira shook her head. "I can feel them already. They're near, closer than ever." Jake turned to the window. And far out in the darkness of space, he saw them, 3 black dots against the stars, moving fast. The DNA hunters had found them again. They weren't just chasing her, they were hunting her, and this time, they would stop at nothing. Her powers. Wake up. The walls shook like thunder was inside them. Jake grabbed the metal bars of the bunk to stay on his feet. Lights flickered, pipes groaned. Zira, still resting on the bed, opened her eyes wide. Her glow was gone, but fear had returned. "They've found us," she said, voice trembling. "The DNA hunters, they're here." An explosion rocked the outer walls of Outpost 7. Jake could already hear the station alarm scream. Miners ran in every direction. Some grabbed weapons, others just hid. Jake turned to Zira. "You can't stay here. They'll tear this place apart to get to you." "I don't want anyone to die," she said. Jake helped her stand. "Then we run." But she was too weak. Her legs shook. Her body leaned into him, barely able to move. Jake lifted her again and rushed toward the back tunnels of the station, dark, tight corridors that led to the old power core. Boom. Another explosion shook the roof. Dust fell like snow. They were almost out of time. Zira's breath grew shallow. Her fingers clutched at his arm. "I can't." "Hold it back." Jake looked at her. "Hold what back?" she gasped. "The other part of me. The power. It's waking up." He stopped behind a support beam and placed her down gently. "What does that mean?" he asked. "My DNA. It's not just from one species. It has healing, strength, and something worse, something no one understands." Jake knelt beside her. "I trust you. Whatever it is, you're still Zira." She looked at him with glowing eyes, now pulsing with gold light. "But I don't know if I can control it." Footsteps echoed from the hall. Dark shapes were moving closer, hunters in black armor with silver masks. They carried weapons that hissed and sparked with energy. Zira looked at Jake. "Leave me." "No," he said. "I won't. They'll kill you. They'll have to go through me." Zira's breathing grew faster. Her hands shook. And then, the air around her changed. It thickened. Warmth spread across the walls. The dust stopped falling. Time felt slower. Jake stepped back. Her body began to glow again, but not like before. This was brighter, stronger, powerful. Zira's eyes turned silver. Her hands rose without her control. The ground beneath her cracked. Light exploded from her, chest in a ring that pushed outward like a wave. It slammed into the walls and down the halls. The hunters flew back like toys, their armor sparking. The lights of the station burst. The whole outpost groaned, then it stopped. Silence. Zira collapsed. Jake rushed to her. Her body was hot, too hot. Her skin glowed like fire beneath her pale skin. "Zira!" he called, lifting her in his arms. "Can you hear me?" Her lips moved slowly. "I didn't mean to hurt them." Jake looked down the corridor. The hunters were unconscious but alive. One was crawling away. He turned back to her. You didn't kill them. You protected us, she whispered. But it's growing. Every time I use it, it grows inside me. And it hurts. Jake looked at her, heart aching. What are we going to do? I need to get to a planet with a healer. A real one. Someone who understands DNA. This place gets too small. Jake nodded. Then we find one. He carried her through the tunnels to a storage hangar. The old mining station had one. Working shuttle. Barely used in years. Jake broke the lock and powered it up. Zira's glow was fading again. She lay on the seat, barely moving. Jake set the course. They had to leave before more hunters arrived. As the shuttle took off, Jake looked out the window one last time. The outpost was broken, burning in parts. People watched from below, not knowing if Zira was a monster or a miracle. Jake didn't care. To him, she was a life worth saving, and now her true power had awakened. The question was, would it save her or destroy her from within? Trapped in the human outpost. The sky was brown and heavy with smoke as the shuttle broke through the atmosphere of the nearest human colony, Outpost Haven 12. It wasn't paradise. It was dry, crowded, and tense, but it was safe. For now. Jake landed the shuttle and looked over at Zira. She was asleep again, her glow now soft and faint, like the last light of sunset. Her body had burned too much energy during the last fight. She needed rest, she needed help. As the doors opened, security guards rushed forward. Jake raised his hands. I'm not a threat, she's injured, she needs medical help. The guards looked at Zira and stepped back, unsure. She didn't look human, not completely. One of them, a young officer, frowned. What is she? Jake kept his voice calm. A victim, that's all. Please, let us in. After a tense moment, the guards allowed them through. Inside the outpost, everything was loud and bright. Children ran in the streets. Traders shouted at markets, and old soldiers sat on corners with broken memories in their eyes. This was a place for people who had nowhere else to go. Jake found a doctor. A tired woman with cybernetic eyes scanned Zira silently. This girl's biology is strange, the doctor said. Alien, but not fully. I've never seen DNA like this. Jake nodded. She's a hybrid. She was created in a lab, locked away for years. Now she's dying from her own power. The doctor's eyes narrowed. If the wrong people hear about her, they'll come fast, Jake whispered. They already have. I just need a little time, please. The doctor hesitated, then nodded. You've got one night. Jake stayed by Zira's side, wiping the sweat from her face. She woke once, whispering, Where are we? A human outpost, he said. You're safe. For now. She smiled faintly. You keep saying that. I'm trying to believe it, Jake said. But outside, whispers had already begun. People in the market had seen Zira's glowing skin. Someone told a trader. The trader told a miner. And the miner had friends in the black market. By nightfall, an offer was already being sent out. Alien hybrid located, bounty available, alive or dead. Jake didn't know it yet, but Zira had already become a target again. At midnight, a small group of men came to the door of the shelter. The leader was tall and scarred with a bionic arm. He knocked hard. Jake opened the door halfway. We heard there's an alien inside, the man said. We're here to help. Jake didn't move. We don't need help. The man leaned closer. We could make you rich, you know. Just hand her over. No questions asked. Jake's eyes narrowed. She's not for sale. The man smiled coldly. Everything's for sale on this rock. He walked away, but Jake knew he would be back. Inside, Zira sat up slowly. She had heard everything. I'm a burden, she whispered. Jake shook his head. No, you're just rare, and people fear what they don't understand. Zira looked down. Maybe they should. Jake knelt beside her. You are not a weapon. You're a person. You've survived things no one else could. That makes you strong, not dangerous. Zira stared at him. You're the only one who sees me like that. Jake nodded. Then I'll be the only one who matters. Suddenly, the walls shook. A small bomb exploded outside. Smoke filled the hallway. Shouts echoed through the building. Jake grabbed Zira's hand. They're trying to take you. Zira's heart raced. I can't fight. I don't want to hurt anyone again. Then let's run. He helped her, down the back corridor. But the exit was blocked by 2 armed men. Jake raised his hands. She's not what you think. One of them sneered. We don't care. Orders are orders. Before they could fire, a voice came from behind them. You fire 1 shot and I end you. It was the doctor. She stood there holding an old rifle, aiming it steady. This girl is sick, not dangerous. Leave. Now. The men backed away slowly, then ran. Jake turned to the doctor. Why did you help us? She shrugged. Because I've seen enough pain to know what real monsters look like. And she's not one of them. That night, Jake and Zira left the outpost quietly. The stars waited, above them again, but now Zira's hand in his was warmer. Her glow was faint but steady, and for the first time she whispered something soft. Thank you for seeing me. The chase and the choice, the night sky behind them lit up in flames. Jake didn't look back. He held Zira close as their stolen skybike shot through the rocky desert, engines roaring. The outpost was gone now, left behind in smoke and betrayal. Someone had called the hunters again. Someone had sold them out. Zira trembled in his arms. Too many people are dying because of me. Jake tightened his grip. No, they're dying because of greed. Not you. But deep down, he knew the truth. Zira's blood was worth more than gold to the wrong people. As long as she lived, the galaxy would chase her. A shadow moved across the sky. Jake glanced up and cursed. A dark ship was following them, sleek and fast. Too fast. It's them, Zira whispered. The company's elite team. I feel them, coming. How? Jake asked. I don't know, she said. But I can hear their minds. Cold, empty. They won't stop. He looked ahead. They were approaching the canyons, sharp stone walls, narrow paths, and tunnels carved by wind and time. It was dangerous, but it was their only chance. Jake drove the bike into the canyon. The wind screamed in his ears. The ship behind them fired a warning shot. Dust and fire exploded near their trail. Zira closed her eyes. Jake, if I use my powers again, I don't think I'll survive. Jake's jaw clenched. Then don't, I'll protect you. But what if I don't want to be protected anymore? She said softly. He didn't answer. He couldn't. The ship above lowered its angle, preparing for a kill shot. Then a cave appeared ahead. Jake swerved hard, nearly losing balance, and shot the bike into the darkness of the tunnel. Inside, the air was cold and still. The bike's engine echoed like thunder. The hunters didn't follow. Not yet. They were safe for the moment. Jake stopped the bike and laid Zira down. Her skin was pale. No glow. You need rest, he said. No, she whispered. I need to choose. He looked at her, confused. Choose what? She sat up slowly, leaning against the stone wall. I was made to survive. My body can adapt, heal, and fight. But every time I use my power, it eats me from the inside. If I keep using it, I'll die. Jake sat beside her. Then don't. We'll find help. She shook her head. There is no help. They made me without a cure. Tears formed in her glowing eyes. But if I use all my power once, everything, I can destroy the tracker forever. I can make myself invisible to every scanner, every ship. They'll never find me again. Jake froze. But you'll die. Zira nodded slowly. Yes. He stood and walked away, running his hands through his hair. It wasn't fair. She didn't ask to be created. She didn't ask to be hunted. She didn't deserve to have to choose between freedom and life. Jake turned back. There's another way. There has to be. Zira looked at him. You've always seen me as more than a weapon, more than a test. But now, you need to let me decide who I want to be." He dropped to his knees beside her. "Then I choose to fight for you." She smiled. "You already have." Suddenly the ground above shook. Dust rained down. The ship had found them again. Zira stood up slowly, her glow starting to return. Jake looked up. "They're about to blast the cave open." Zira reached out and took his hand. "One last thing," she said. "If I don't make it, promise me you'll tell people who I really was. Not a weapon, not a monster, just a girl who wanted to live." Jake's voice broke. "Don't say goodbye." She stepped forward, her body rising slightly off the ground. Her glow returned brighter than ever, pure white light like a star being born. The air pulsed. The walls cracked. Zira screamed, not in fear, but in power, and the world answered. A new beginning, or the end. The world turned white, not from snow, not from fire, but from her. Zira stood alone in the heart of the collapsing cave, arms stretched wide, light pouring from her skin like the sun had broken loose inside her. Her scream echoed across the canyons, loud, raw, alive. She was not hiding anymore. She was not running anymore. Jake could only watch from the edge of the tunnel, shielding his eyes as the glow filled everything. His heart pounded. He wanted to run to her, but something held him back. Not fear, respect. Zira had chosen. She was no longer just the girl he had saved. She was the one saving him now. Above the cave, the hunter ship hovered, preparing to strike, but before it could fire, a wave of light shot upward from the ground like a spear. The ship tilted, twisted, then shattered in midair, falling in flaming pieces across the rocks. The canyon fell silent. The glow faded, and Zira collapsed. Jake ran to her. Her body was still. No glow, no sound. Just her, lying among the cracked stones with dust in her silver hair. "No," Jake whispered. He dropped beside her, pulled her close. No, please." Her skin was cold, her breathing gone. He shook her gently. "You did it. You stopped them. You're free now. Zira, please wake up." Tears filled his eyes. But then, her hand moved, just slightly. Then her chest rose. Slow, weak, but real. Jake gasped. Zira's eyes opened. No glow this time. Just soft gray, full of pain and peace. "I thought I was gone," she said in a whisper. Jake held her tightly. "You almost were." She tried to sit up but winced. "It's all gone. The power. I gave it up." Jake nodded. "But you're still here. That's all that matters." He carried her out of the broken cave. The sunlight outside was gentle, warm. The desert winds were calm now. No ships, no hunters. Only silence. They had done it. They were free. Days passed. Jake built a small shelter at the edge of the canyon. He sent a message to Earth, a quiet one, not an alert, just a request for help. He didn't trust many, but he knew someone would come. Someone kind. Zira slowly recovered. Her powers were gone now, but she didn't care. For the first time in her life, she didn't glow. She didn't float. She didn't hear voices in her head or feel fire in her bones. She just lived and laughed and breathed. One evening, as they sat under the stars, she asked him, "What now?" Jake looked at her. "Now we live, quietly, together." She smiled. "And if they come again?" He squeezed her hand. "Then we'll remind them that you're not alone anymore." Zira looked up at the stars, eyes full of wonder, not fear. "I used to dream of being out there," she said. "Now I dream of staying right here." Jake chuckled. "Strange how that works." She leaned on his shoulder. "You opened the door, Jake, the one no one else dared to open." He smiled. You were the one asking. She looked at him softly. Thank you. Jake held her close, and for the first time since that whisper behind the steel door there was no fear, no chase, no pain, just peace. Because sometimes, saving the galaxy doesn't start with a war. Sometimes, it starts with a door and someone brave enough to open it.